Hello everybody, welcome back to a new video. Today we have some book content. So today I am going to be sort of talking about what I've been reading recently, a wrap up of what I've read in like September, October. But I'd say they are quite different to what I normally read. Like we've got some more thrillers in there, fantasy, dark academia. This isn't all of them, but we have a big-ish stack. So let's just get into it. So starting off with what I read in September, I'm going to go through September then October because I actually haven't finished anything as of yet in November. So when I'm filming this, it is the second week of November and I've been stuck on the same book all month. It's taken me so long to get into it. So in September, I only finished 3 books. So we have Before the Coffee Gets Cold, but like the sequel one. Beartown and Full Tilt. Beartown was my favourite of the 3 and is one of my 5-star reads of the year. But anyways, we'll go with this one first because this is the first one that I finished. This was like my first autumnal cosy read. So this is the second book in the Before the Coffee Gets Cold series. This is Tales from a Cafe. So it kind of like follows on from the first one but follows like different people. There's a few of the same characters but it does follow like the same kind of storyline, themes, etc.
Every now and then, a customer like Guitar Roll would come to the cafe after hearing the rumour that you could travel back in time. Are you familiar with the rules? Kazu asked briefly. There were customers who rolled up at the cafe with no idea of them. More or less, he replied hesitantly. More or less, Kyoko shouted. Guitar Roll shrugged apologetically. You sit in a chair, someone makes you a coffee, and you return to the past. That's all I've heard.
So I enjoyed this. I don't think I liked it as much as the first one, but it still kind of gave like cozy autumn vibes. I always think that the sort of like message or baseline of this story and the first one, I really do like it. I think it's cute. Then I read Full Tilt and I literally hate the look of this book so much. It's like so unnecessarily long. Like I would say this is a normal book size. It's so unnecessarily long and like skinny, like just make the pages shorter. Anyways, I was gonna read the back but look how long it is. I'm not gonna do that. Okay, so basically this is a romance book that follows Casey and Jonah. So Casey is like in a rock band. She's kind of a little bit going off the rails, like drinking all the time, stuff like that. And Jonah has a heart condition. Like he basically had heart surgery and had a replacement heart. That's not like a spoiler, like you find that out straight away. So basically like the whole way through this book you kind of know or think that something is going to happen to Jonah. I thought it was going to be way sadder than it was. Like it was sad but not as sad as I thought it was going to be. But I did enjoy it. It was like an easy-ish read. Not my favourite romance ever. I didn't particularly like him, her, them together. I just didn't feel invested in them. And also, mini spoiler, I hate the fact that they kind of hinted that Casey was going to end up with his brother. I'm sure there's a second book which is what that's about and I'm just not a fan of that. So then we have Beartown, which like I said was my favourite of September, one of my 5-star reads of the year. I loved this and I didn't expect to. The storyline was something that I wasn't really expecting. Like I didn't think that that's what this would be about. It took me a while to get into it because the first like 150 pages were kind of setting the scene, but they were mainly talking about hockey, about ice hockey. I am not a sports girl, definitely not an ice hockey girl, so it kind of was a bit like repetitive for me, but I think that did help in sort of building the story and like building the town up, which then as you get into the storyline it makes more sense.
For most of the year is under a thick blanket of snow, experiencing the kind of cold and dark that brings people closer together or pulls them apart. Its isolation means that Beartown has been slowly shrinking with each passing year, but now the town is on the verge of an astonishing revival. A bright new future is just around the corner, until the day is all put in jeopardy by a single brutal act. It divides the town into those who think it should be hushed up and forgotten and those who will risk the future to see justice done. At last it falls to one young man to find the courage to speak the truth that it seems no one else wants to hear. With the town's future at stake, no one can stand by or stay silent. Everyone is on one side or the other. Which side would you be on?
So I really liked this. I thought like the themes and messages were like so important and so well written about. I literally went through like every emotion whilst I was reading this. I was angry, I was upset. I would read the trigger warnings topics before reading this because I had no idea that it concerned what it does, so maybe be a bit cautious of that. But I thought it was just so well written, and like the characters and everything were, for me, really nicely like fleshed out. Like, you know, sometimes when there's a lot of characters in a book, you feel like they're kind of just thrown in there, you don't really know them. But I really loved, I was gonna say all the characters in this, I certainly did not, but I mean, like, I loved how they were written and incorporated into the story, if that makes sense. Benji holds a special place in my heart. I really loved him as a character, and like I said, this is one of my 5-star reads of this year. I don't have that many actually. I might do a video on that towards the end of the year, but yeah, I love this. I literally, apart from it being a bit slow at the beginning, but then like I said, I feel like that did help with the storyline. That is the only thing that I could fault it on, and I really want to read more of like this series, I guess, or more books from this author. Then I read the Mindfuck series, but I didn't finish this until October, so we're moving into October reads now. This is a hefty book, but it is 5 books in one, so each book is like 200 pages long, but the only physical copy that I could find was all of it together. I think they do like the single books on like Kindle and stuff like that, but I am a paperback girl, so this one was a little bit like iffy for me. All of the backs are so long that I want to read them to you, but like, can I be bothered? Basically, this follows a man and a woman. The man is an FBI agent and the woman is a serial killer. He is looking for her, doesn't know it's her. Them two meet, get into a relationship. She is out killing people. He is trying to find her. When I first heard that that was like the plot line, I was like, sign me up, get me into that. And I did enjoy it. I just felt like it was a bit unrealistic, obviously, but like, I don't know, the ending, hated the ending, like literally hated how that whole plot line, their relationship kind of panned out. Was not a fan. But I think I gave this like 4 stars because I was kind of rooting for her. People kind of side with her, like when it kind of comes out why she's doing what she's doing, I was kind of like, yeah, go off sis, like I don't blame you. But I did just think it was unrealistic in terms of like their relationship. Again, I didn't really feel like any sort of way about him, about her, about them together. Like I just didn't really care that much. Like I actually read more for like the sort of FBI murder mystery, catching the killer part than the romance. The romance didn't really do it for me, but I still enjoyed it, and it was like a nice way of kickstarting off my like spookier thriller reads. Then I read My Policeman and I was kind of disappointed by this one. I'm so sorry to say it. I had kind of like high hopes for this one. I wanted to read it before the film came out, which is ironic because I actually still haven't watched the film. Sorry about it, but I actually just didn't love it. I think I gave it like 3.5 stars. I just thought again that it would be more heartbreaking, more sad, more devastating than it was. So I'm pretty sure a lot of people know what this is about or have already read it anyways.
It's in 1950s Brighton that Marion first catches sight of Tom. He teaches her to swim in the shadow of the pier and Marion is smitten, determined her love will be enough for them both. A few years later in Brighton Museum, Patrick meets Tom. Patrick is besotted with Tom and opens his eyes to a glamorous, sophisticated new world. Tom is their policeman, and in this age it is safer for him to marry Marion. The two lovers must share him until one of them breaks and 3 lives are destroyed.
So I think the issue with this for me is that it was very character based rather than like plot driven, which I don't mind. I like character based books, but I think the issue is you have to really like the characters and really be invested in them, which I didn't feel like I was with this. Like I kind of just thought they were all annoying and I did feel sorry for them, but that was about it. Of course I found it sad, like the whole, I was gonna say forbidden love, but like literally not being allowed broke me. But in terms of like the characters, I didn't feel as invested in them and invested in their relationships to be devastated by it, if that makes sense. There is one quote in here though that literally broke my heart and put it back together. Patrick says to Tom, for a policeman you're very romantic, and then Tom says back, for an artist you're very afraid. And when I read that, my heart kind of fell out of my chest, and that's what I expected the whole book to be like, and it just wasn't. It kind of fell a little bit, not short for me, but I kind of was expecting more, I think. Then we had If We Were Villains, which again was another 5-star read for me. Literally one of my favourite reads this year, probably my favourite that I've read in the last few months. I absolutely loved this. I kind of went into this blind, like I had absolutely no idea what to expect. I just knew that people had said it was like dark academia vibes. So basically this follows like a group of friends, students at like a drama school. They're all like big Shakespeare, playwright, theatre kids, and basically one of them dies and one of them ends up taking the fall for it, and you don't know if they did it. You actually don't find out which one of them it is that dies until like quite a bit into the book. You know right at the beginning, like straight off the bat, that one of them does die. But I was like, oh my god, who is it? Like, who dies? Because kind of like you could see how it could be like quite a lot of them. But I just really enjoyed it. Like the whole, just everything about it. Like there's not one single thing that I could fault on this book. Like obviously some of the characters I did not like, but I felt like that was the point. Even like the quotations, like they do quote and like talk, converse in Shakespeare quotations quite a lot, and even that did not bother me as much as I thought it would. I think this really deserves a hype and I enjoyed it so much more than I thought I would. Then I read It Starts With Us by Colleen Hoover. So this is obviously the sequel to It Ends With Us. I refuse to believe that anyone on BookTok, Bookstagram, BookTube, literally that reads anything has not seen this, heard of it, or seen or heard of It Ends With Us or Colleen Hoover. Like she's just everywhere. I do have a whole video reading this. I also have a video reading My Policeman, If We Were Villains, and The Atlas 6, which is my next book. So I will link them if you want like more in-depth reactions as we go. But yeah, again, this was like maybe like a middle of the road kind of book for me. Wasn't my favourite, wasn't the worst thing I ever read. It kind of felt a little bit, I don't want to say like unnecessary for me, but I don't know. I just felt like this was kind of what I expected from this book anyways. This was like the ending that I already had in my head from It Ends With Us. So it didn't really tell me anything that I didn't already know, or like provide some big plot line that I was unaware of, if that makes sense. But it was an easy read. I always do enjoy Colleen books because I think they're easy to get through. They don't really require a lot of thinking, not in a bad way. That is no Colleen hate, by the way. Then I read The Atlas 6, which probably was my most disappointing read of the last few months, but I don't know, I was just kind of expecting more from this. So this is like a fantasy dark academia type vibe. It follows 6 magicians who get sort of like initiated or invited into a society, but only 5 of them will make it out or kind of like make it to initiation. But everybody always hypes this up so much that I had really high expectations. Even though it's like not my typical type of read, I still thought that I would enjoy it, and I don't think I would say I didn't enjoy it. It just kind of fell a bit short for me. Like I expected more, and the ending felt a bit rushed, like didn't quite pan out how I thought it was going to, and I didn't feel like it was fully fleshed out. Like to me, it just felt like there was a lot of building up for the plot twist, the ending. Like it just didn't, I don't know, to bring the plot twist in like literally 2 chapters to the end and then just end it. I don't know, maybe that's what people liked about it, but for me, I just didn't. And again, I didn't particularly love any of the characters, so for all of that build up, it kind of just fell a bit flat for me. I don't know. And also like I felt like it was really unnecessarily wordy. I get that it's like an academic thing and it's fantasy, so you kind of have to be a bit wordy, but like it just felt unnecessary. Again, there was a lot of like extra words and a lot of build up for the ending for me anyways, so this was not a favourite. Then after that I needed like a quick, snappy, straight into it kind of book, so I read The Guest List by Lucy Foley, and I enjoyed this. I literally read this in like one sitting. I read this when I went to Paris, or well, when I was on my way home from Paris. Literally I read this on the train home and I liked it. It was, like I said, kind of snappy, gripped me straight away. I didn't mind the plot, the characters and stuff like that. This is basically a thriller and it follows like a wedding All of these wedding guests go to a wedding on like a remote island and one person dies. You find out right at the beginning that someone dies, but you just don't know who. It kind of flits between everybody's point of views. So I think that kind of helped with keeping it like quick paced, and a lot of the chapters were only short. So I definitely do want to read more Lucy Foley books. Then for like a cute little Halloween read, I read The XX. Basically this follows like a family of witches town where there is like witchcraft and stuff, as well as normal people that don't do magic. Basically this follows Vivian, who is a witch, and she curses her ex-boyfriend, but she does it as kind of like a joke, like she doesn't think he'll actually get cursed. He returns back to town and kind of everything goes to shit because the curse is very real. This was just like an easy read for me. It wasn't the most groundbreaking thing I've ever read. It wasn't my favourite read. It wasn't even like my favourite romance read. But I just thought it was very easy to read, very quick paced. I liked it and it was very cute for this season. I read it like a few days before Halloween and I just really liked it. It was like cozy autumn witchy vibes and I live for that. Then the last one that I'm going to talk about is Rock Paper Scissors by Alice Feeney. I really liked this. I think I gave it maybe like a 4.5. Again, this is a thriller. This follows a married couple. So the husband basically has like facial recognition issues. He doesn't know his wife's face. Their marriage is basically going downhill. So they go on like a weekend away to try and save their marriage. They go to like this far off place in the Scottish Highlands. They stay in like a renovated chapel. Right from the get-go, it kind of hints at like, can they trust each other? Are they both going to make it home? I thought that the beginning was kind of like a little bit slow. From what people had said, I thought that would be gripped like instantly and I just wasn't. But I did really like it as it went on. I am not like a huge thriller reader in terms of like I read a lot of them. So I'm not the best at kind of working out the plots. I kind of just read it and go along for the ride rather than like actively trying to figure out the plot. But with this one, I found myself doing that. Like I was like, oh my god, this is gonna happen, this is gonna happen, this is a twist. And just when I thought like I had it figured out and I was like, oh, this is what's gonna happen, that would like kind of happen, but then they'd throw a whole nother twist in there. I just really liked it. It did keep me on my toes and I was kind of like satisfied with the ending. So I did really like this, and again I would really like to pick up more Alice Feeney books. But yeah, that is everything that I have been reading recently. We had a couple of good ones in there. As always, if you want to stay more like up to date on my current reads, more in-depth reviews of each book, follow my book Insta. If you did like this video, please let me know because I would love to do more book content. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.